rugged but spectacular. Northern Ontario's Algoma country has so much to offer the fly angler.
The spectacular jump. Fish on.
And if you're intrepid and willing to work just a bit, the rewards far outweigh the labor.
Hello everyone, and welcome again. I'm Rob Heel, and this week we're in Northern Ontario with Wilderness North at Miminiska Lodge. For the first part of the trip, I'm going to be doing it myself with nothing but a map, and I'm looking for northern pike and maybe some walleye. Then we're going to travel to one of the many tributaries in the Albany watershed in search of trophy wild eastern brook trout. All of this is coming to you next on The New Fly Fisher.
That's a nice size fish. What?
Absolutely fantastic.
The New Fly Fisher is brought to you in partnership with Destination Ontario, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,
After a night in Thunder Bay, Ontario, we took a 450-kilometer flight north to Miminiska, where we landed on the lodge's private airstrip. The flight in is better than average, as you really get to see the starkness of Northern Ontario, and if you've never experienced it, you'll gain a far greater appreciation of just how big this province is, and how little there is in terms of human development north of the Great Lakes. There's always anticipation and a little apprehension at a new facility, and dozens of questions race through your mind. The first one for me, after getting a feel for how large this lake was where the heck do I start? Now, most lodges, if they're worth their weight, will have a well-charted map that shows both hazards and fish, and Mim was no exception. The map that they provided me was accurate and really set my mind at ease. For my first outing, I was less concerned with finding fish and more focused on getting acquainted with the boat and the lay of the lake. So after talking with some other guests who happened to be familiar with the lake and factoring in the strong winds, I headed for the western shore, which would provide the most shelter. I followed the map, where I located known pike water, and horsed around some weed beds and other likely looking targets, but the wind wasn't getting better and more or less forced me off the lake.
It is the smallest pike I've ever caught.
Tomorrow, I'd have more time to explore and hopefully find some fish. The original plan for this trip with Wilderness North was to strike for the Albany River, which is the main influence to Miminiska Lake, and hunt for brook trout. However, several unforeseen events took place, perpetual high winds being the biggest of those, and left us somewhat stranded and relegated to fishing pike and walleye on the main lake. That didn't deter me from trying though, and after being pushed off the west arm due to rough boating, I took shelter in the narrows between the east and west arms and set up for some pike fishing.
See if we can't tuck into this little secluded bay here and maybe get a pike or two. This weather just has us shut down. We're dealing with 60-kilometer winds and big seas, boy, big seas.
there was a pike right behind it. This is nice here because there's a nice little drop off in here. So we find ourselves in this situation where we can't hit the trout water that we originally wanted to because the wind is so high and we can't get across the lake. So we decided to go after some pike. There are a lot of pike in Miminiska, and unfortunately I didn't come prepared. I didn't have very much in the way of pike flies, and I certainly didn't have any bite leader. But what I did have was a 12-pound fluorocarbon saltwater leader. So what I did with this was I cut about 3 feet off of the tip, which is going to bring me into the midsection of the leader, and then I used the butt section of the leader, about 15 inches of the butt section, created a couple of perfection loops. So now I've got about 20-pound test as a main leader, but I've got about a 50-pound bite leader, which should suffice for most of the pike that we're going to catch in here. Sometimes you got to work with the tools that you have, and that's all I had available. Fun of exploring. For the next 2 days, while the seaplane was grounded, I continued to explore the main lake and a couple of the rivers, including the Albany. Not sure of what I'd find, but having a ball doing it. There's nothing that anyone can do about the weather, so you may as well make the best of it, and I can say now, after cruising around the islands and bays on Mim, that I gained a greater appreciation of the area and all it had to offer.
So the first thing I want to do is check the temperature. With brook trout, you don't want to be fishing them in anything above 68 degrees. Although it's late August here in northern Ontario, they have gone through a warm patch over the last couple of weeks. Temperatures dropped substantially last night. The fish finder is showing 59 degrees in here. And I hate to say this, but I'm not familiar enough with fish finders to really trust it. So I'm going to use my own thermometer, get a temp of the river here right at the mouth, and that's going to give me an indication of what it's going to be like upstream and possibly where we can find some fish. Now let's see what we got here. Well, I guess I can trust the fish finder. My thermometer says 60 degrees, and you really couldn't ask for a much better temperature. So hopefully, right now, in a normal year at Miminiska, we would be fishing to pre-spawn fish. There's a good chance, though, that that's going to be delayed because of this heat wave that they had over the past couple of weeks. But the temperatures are good, and if the fish are here, they should be cooperative.
When you're unfamiliar with a river, start with what you know. I've done my share of brook trout fishing in eastern Canada and the US, and although no two rivers are exactly alike, you need a baseline to get going. So as I said, start with what you're comfortable with, and then branch out from there. Odds are pretty good that if the fish are there, you'll get a feel for it.
There's a fish. Nice one too. Oh! Well, I find it hard to believe that if that was a trout that there was only one in there, but we know where it is. We're going to go upstream, and we'll definitely hit that on the way back. This little creek holds some promise.
I continued upstream, picked apart what I deemed to be higher percentage targets, and for my efforts managed a couple of encounters along the way.
Good brookie, good brookie. I'm gonna keep him, I wanna try and keep him as out of that lower run as much as I can. Boy, did he clobber that. Boy, did he clobber that. There we go, my first Miminiska, or I should say Albany River watershed brook trout. What a beauty, too. What a beauty. This water's still pretty cold. She's a pretty fish. That's my first Albany River watershed fish. She's beautiful. Just starting to color up for spawning. We'll put her back.
There may be few things more rewarding for a fly angler than finding success on new and unfamiliar water.
There's a fish. There's a fish.
The rivers around Mim were as promising as they were beautiful. And even with the limited success that I had, I still felt pretty good about the results. And having scratched my moving water itch, I was looking forward to getting back on the big lake. Miminiska Lodge is a full-service, fly-in facility offering a variety of packages to their guests. With both individual cabins and larger family-sized lodging, Mim can take care of just you and a buddy, a family vacation, or corporate retreats. The lodge is well equipped and staffed, and I can say after staying here, you won't go hungry. In fact, the meals are as good as it gets, and as far as good old Canadian hospitality goes, it doesn't get any better than this.
Over the past 2 days, we've had just horrible weather, and everything is off. The wind was crazy yesterday, but if this is relegation, it's pretty fun. We're working along these weeds at the, this is the estuary, or the mouth of the Albany River, and working a topwater bait and just having fun catching small pike. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You're here, might as well enjoy it.
The big lake was equally fun and challenging, but I put my time in and started to figure things out. After getting my share of pike, I really wanted to shoot for some walleye, if for no other reason than just to say I did it. So let's talk about walleye. What I know about fly fishing for walleye, you could write on the back of your hand. I've caught some, but have never targeted them specifically. So after running into our friends from Boston, anchored in what's known as the walleye mine, and that's got to account for something, I figured it was time to try my hand.
American fish. Huge. He's huge. Look at the size of him. Look at the size of him. Holy. Oh. Fish on. Feels like it could be a bigger fish too. Feels like it could be a bigger fish. Oh, it is. It's a nice pike. Nice pike. Nice pike. Come here, darling. Come here. Come here. This is the what they call the walleye mine, but came into these weeds. Got a lovely pike. This is the big pike of the day so far. Oh, come here. The old slapperoo.
The walleye ended up being elusive, which is to say, I couldn't find a one. But I wasn't discouraged. I continued moving around, finding quiet bays in the shelter of islands, and found pike and beauty just about everywhere I went, and had a pretty good time doing it. But by now, my mind was on brook trout, and tomorrow, weather provided, we were going after them. On my last day, the weather did cooperate, and we were finally able to fly. It was our plan to make the best of the few hours that we had left and fish one of the many brook trout streams within a short jump from Mim. Joining us for the day was Wilderness North owner Alan Cheeseman, and of course the pilot, Matthew Webster. While not fishing guides per se, they knew the area enough to steer me in the right direction and would be our canoe operators on this excursion.
Gonna take a walk in the snow. It is medicine for the soul.
The flight out was just the way I like it. Clear and smooth, and we were only in the air for about 20 minutes.
In the winter sky could fly.
After landing and sorting out our gear, we were off, and I was super excited.
Don't seem to
My first glimpse at the river made me happy, as it just looked trouty. So while the guys made a short portage, I made a few casts just to get the kinks out.
I'd be as forgave.
Right off the hop. Right off the hop. And it's a pike.
Alan had indicated, though, that it would be a substantial canoe trip to get to the good water, so with the time restraints, we carried on downstream. While the region had suffered abnormally high water in the spring and early summer, it had done a 180 through late July and August, leaving the smaller rivers low but manageable. We worked our way through some skinny water, cherry-picking a couple of fishy-looking runs, and eventually arrived at the beat where Alan felt that our best chance of taking some good fish was. And he wasn't wrong. I wasn't sure what to expect of the water that we eventually stopped at, but it had enough going for it that I was eager to get started. There was nothing really descriptive about it other than the deep-cut bank on the opposite shore, but it looked to me as if it would hold pre-spawn brookies, and as we were getting near that time, I felt pretty good about it. It wouldn't be long before we knew what we were in for.
Fish. Good fish, too. Good fish. Good fish. I gotta look at him. Oh yeah, that's a nice brook trout. That's a nice fish. Get him on the reel. Gotta love a woolly bugger. That's big fish. So this is kind of what we've been looking for, was this spring creek coming in to keep the depths cold. This is a big trout. I might have to just wander down here a bit. I don't even know if I can wade out there, but I'm gonna try. That's a big brookie. Oh my goodness, this is what we came here for. This is what we came here for. Again, using the sinking tip. And working it fairly slow. I wasn't crazy aggressive with it. Just about pickled. Come on, darling, come on. Stay with me. There we go. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna tell you, it does not get better than that. That was pretty spectacular. One of the bigger brook trout I've caught. But as we were playing that fish, another good fish rose down here, and we just had one come up right off a little point up here. So I'm going to change to my dry fly and see if we can't coax them up with that, fish that far bank. It's quite an undercut bank there, and it's just a perfect spot for fish to hide. So we're gonna do that until we've exhausted it. I'll let that drift though. He might have been down here, so we'll try that one too. I don't know why I'm whispering, because it just seems like the right thing to do. We often associate brook trout as being a little less sophisticated than some of their brethren, and I have to admit that I was a little surprised not to have taken a fish on the surface. But I'm not one to kick a dead horse, so I quickly went back to what was working. I'm going to go back up the top and work that down again, now that that's a little bit rested. There he is. Oh, I just moved a big fish off there again. Just moved a big fish. I didn't touch him. I got him. That was kind of dead drifting. That's a big fish. That is a big fish. Now I moved that fish a couple of casts before. I can't get this guy to the reel because I got a knot in my line. So I'm gonna keep him here close. Another big male fish. These are the some of the things that you got to deal with. Knots and leaders, knots and lines. Not quite as big as that first one, but still a beautiful big brooktrout, probably 18 inches. Come here, sweetheart. There you go. There we go. There we go. Right on that corner. If he's smaller, he's not that much smaller. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, we had to budget our time as we couldn't fly after a certain hour. So to maximize my time, I let the fish dictate my presentation and stayed with a streamer. Until the trout tell you otherwise, stick with what's working until it doesn't. There we go. Nice to mama. Keeping him off balance, just like I always say. He goes one way, I'm going to try and turn him and go the next. Keep him guessing. These are all big, big brook trout, my goodness. My goodness. You'd be hard pressed to find more consistently large fish anywhere in the world. This is a heavy trout. Come on, baby, get it. Get your head up in there. I can't. Oh, come on, you son of a gun. Thick boy. Yeah, 18 and a half. What do you think of that? Look at those fish. Let's put this guy back. Go away, big fella. You beautiful thing. No matter what we fish for, or how we fish to them, there are little things that we can do to improve our success. Even after 40 plus years of doing this, I still listen to my guides. And when something that they teach me works, I stay with it. Okay. One of the things that I've learned about streamer fishing is particularly in stillish type waters. This is not a true still water. It does have a moderate flow to it, but in lakes and quiet pools or meadows like this, the most effective way and to gain the greatest sensitivity, I find, is to just barely hold the rod. It's almost just resting on my hands. No matter what my retrieve is, whether I'm doing a finger crawl like this, or a more rapid retrieve like this, the idea is to keep the fly rod pointed right at the line rather than high in the air like this and stripping like this. With all of that slack line in your strip, you really compromise the feel. This way, I feel every tap, every stop, even the most subtle grabs, I feel them. I won't necessarily hook every fish, but I feel every fish. The other thing I'll add to that is don't rest it against your stomach like that. Again, you're compromising the feel. Keep the rod handle away from your body. Don't grip it tight. Almost balance it, and then begin your strip. You'll find, folks, I guarantee it, this really, really improves the sensitivity. Oh, that was a grab. There he is. There he is. I don't know if that was the same fish or not, but so I'm fishing a fairly short leader on this sink tip. I've only got about maybe 3 or 4 feet. Oh, nice. Come here, sweetie. Get a quick measurement on him here. Oh, same size, little smaller. Go on. Contemplate life. Don't do that again. This is spectacular. This is what we came here for. We had 3 really, really tough windy days where we just couldn't cross the lake, couldn't fly a plane, barely cast a fly, and this is our last day, and we were finally able to get out. And man, oh man, is it paying off! I'm gobsmacked, and I never use that word, but I am gobsmacked.
The fishing eventually slowed, but rather than make a drastic change, I decided to simply change the streamer. Joe's Panther is a very old pattern that was introduced to my father back in the 60s and remains his favorite brook trout pattern. I've caught fish on it from Argentina to Labrador and on every brook trout stream that I've ever fished in between. It only made sense to try it here.
Yep, it works. It works. Ooh, this is a colorful fish. This is a colorful fish. Oh, yeah, that's it. Keep coming up here. Stay out of there. This is a colorful fish. Really pretty. This is probably a male. He's very bright. He's fighting hard too. Come on, girl.
We pushed it to the end and managed to play and land a few more fish, but the time got the best of us, and we had to call it. Now, I've had my share of good brook trout fishing, but this was unique in that I knew this stream was virtually untouched by anglers, or any humans for that matter. Nothing makes you want to return to a place like thinking you left something on the table, like, in this case, hitting it during a good hatch. I can only imagine what that would hold. Miminiska showed us all her sides, from rugged and unforgiving to gentle and kind, and I wouldn't have wanted to see her any other way. We want to thank Alan and Krista Cheeseman for having us up here, Matthew Webster and all of the pilots for flying us around, and of course the staff at Miminiska Lodge for treating us so well. To watch other episodes in our series, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and be sure to check us out on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. Until next time, good hunting, and we'll see you on the water.
The New Fly Fisher is brought to you in partnership with Destination Ontario, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,